Hi there, Corby Mitleid, your no bullshit psychic, and oh my god, is that gray driving me nuts. Thank God, Thursday, I have an appointment. We'll keep the silver streaks, but the rest of it is going dark, thank God. I am not ready to be an old gray lady. Anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about tonight is, first, thank you for the suggestions that you gave me last night when I said, what would you like me to talk about? There's several good ones. But one of them really struck home because it's at the beginning of things. And that is, someone said, it's like psychics never get trained. They were just born with these things, or all of a sudden happen to them. What about the rest of us? How do we develop our psychic skills? And that is a good and fundamental question. So it may take me a couple of videos to do all of this. And tomorrow night, remember, we're going to break and do our weekly reading. But the way I explain how it worked for me is I wanted magic in my life since I was 9. And I went looking for it. What fell into my lap was a tarot deck, because everybody was reading tarot. Everybody was a hippie in 1973. And I read for 20 years, making sure that I kept my ego on the shelf. I was a clear channel. Nobody taught me how to read. I bought books. The major one that I used was one called Tarot for Yourself, 2 words, by Tarot Grandmaster Mary Greer. It's been reprinted since then. It's a better book now than it was when I got it in the early 70s. But that practice is what opened me up to everything else that I do. As I say in all my podcasts when I'm a guest, after 20 years, the universe decided that I had done enough inner work. And so all of a sudden, when I was doing work on past lives, I found I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when the universe handed me my draft notice and said, you're working for us. But notice that while I can do those things, they're not what I love most. We really strengthen what we love most. And the way the universe figures that out is they go inside and they look at who we are and what we love. I was an actress. I loved theater because I loved the stories and the characters in it. Remember, I went to Brown University for a theater degree, and I acted in New York. So the universe knew that was part of me. I have always loved writing. Always. And so writing was something I did in journals or stories or whatever. So the universe said, okay, she likes telling the stories. And I have loved history since I was a little kid. When I went to London, where did I want to go? The National Portrait Gallery, because I loved looking at the eyes and wondering who was it behind the eyes. You put all of that together, the universe realized what I would be best at would be using tarot and oracle cards to tell those stories, because I could put them together the way a writer can, and that I would do really well with past life work, because I would see the past lives and I would be able to recognize the historical point of it. The example that I use often is there could be somebody else who is good at past lives but doesn't have my historical background. You show us the same vision. This person might say, well, you're in a long dress and a big hat and it's a very fancy building, so I guess maybe it's Europe somewhere. But because I know my history, I would look at the same thing and say, she's in a hobble skirt, that's a picture hat with a certain kind of ostrich feather, and the building she's standing in front of is the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. So that's probably Berlin in 1911 or 12. On the other hand, there are some people who do wonderful spirit art. pictures of your guides, pictures of angels. I can't draw. I literally can't draw a stick figure with a sharp pencil and a lot of prayer. There are some people that use pendulums. But remember, when you use a pendulum, you have to keep your hand very still and let the pendulum do the work. I have a slight benign tremor in that hand, so I could never trust whether it truly was me or the pendulum. So those are things I don't work with. So what I'm going to tell you right now is make a list of the things you love. I don't care if they're walking dogs, cooking, knitting. When you make a list of those, then you can start to look at the things that you're good at. For instance, if you love to cook, maybe herbalism is where you go. If you love being surrounded by candles, well, there's candle magic. So that's how you start. Whether or not you have a teacher, you make sure that you know who you are inside and what you'd love to work with. Okay? So that's lesson number 1. Like I say, tomorrow is our reading for the week, but we'll go back to this on Monday, and we'll continue to look at how you can develop your own skills. Because we need every one of you that we can get. Okay? Remember, I'm 70. I won't be around forever. We need you to step up as the next generation.